Good morning, my friends. At least this morning here. I hopped into the JRB this morning for today's Outside In. That's the Jeep recording booth. There was just so much going on in the readings this morning, and I had to get this on video because to write it all out would have been like TLDR, you know what I mean? Too long, didn't read. So here I am. We hear this morning from the Old Testament prophets in the first reading, and then we hear in Matthew a conversation between Peter and Jesus. Some of the disciples listening in, and the Pharisees kind of testing him and that kind of thing. So there's this really cool interplay between this big picture story and this real personal account that Jesus shares. And that's what God's always doing, especially through Lent. He's moving us from the big picture story, the people of Israel, the covenants with Moses and Abraham. And he's moving us from there all the way to the personal relationship with Jesus, the reason he came, each individual. So today we hear about Israel in the prophet Daniel. And Israel is like, we have screwed up royally. It's bad, God. Like, we have nothing left. You promised us like a descendancy is the number of stars in the sky. Like, that's how profitable our nation would be. That's how many people would be a part of you and what you're doing. And here we are, we're down to like 4. Probably not 4, it's a little more than that. But they're like decimated. The people of Israel are decimated. They don't have a king. They don't have a place to pray. They feel like God's left them. And God says to him, you know what? Come back to me. Come back to me. So fast forward. That's like 600 years before Jesus. Fast forward now to the New Testament and this story. Peter asks Jesus a question. He says, Jesus, how many times do I have to forgive my brother? And he says, is it like 7? Now, Peter, in that little move, he was doing this one-up thing because a good Jew, according to the law, would only have to forgive somebody 3 times. So Peter's like, if I say 7, that's like a really good number, and it's like almost twice as much as what we'd be expected to do, and that would be a lot, and that'd be good, and Jesus would say yes. And Jesus turns it back around on him. He says, no, Peter, not 7, 70 times 7. So that's, in biblical terms, that's 2 perfect numbers times by each other. 1 perfect number times 1 really big perfect number, 70 times 7. He's basically saying it never ends. It doesn't end. That's how many times you have to forgive your brother. Now, a lot of times when we hear this story, we think, well, that means somebody that hurt me over and over and over and over again, I need to just keep forgiving him. I need to keep forgiving him. And that's true. And in fact, it's not even just that. It's like, yes, you forgive him the first time and the second and the 490th time. But on that 491st time, you forgive them with the same amount of grace and love that you did the first time. But that's the surface. The next piece is actually, we find this little bridge in between the first reading and the gospel. And it's called, in Lent, it's called the verse of the day. Sometimes we know it as the gospel acclamation. During Lent, obviously, we're not saying the words alleluia. We're not using alleluia as part of our prayer because we're in this quiet time of fasting and mourning and wandering and searching for God. So we reserve that for after the resurrection. But there is the verse of the day, and it comes from the prophet Joel. And Joel says, he quotes God, and he says, come back to me with all your heart, for I'm waiting and I'm ready to forgive you. And so we see this tie between the people of Israel and the disciples and Jesus and the Pharisees trying to keep the law of Israel. And Jesus saying, it's better than that. It's more, it's personal. It's me and it's you. And you just keep turning back to me 490 times, 491 times. And I'm just going to keep forgiving you. I'm going to keep loving you. I'm going to keep calling you back, bringing you in. It's such a joyful message. When we start thinking about how many times we've wandered, how many times we've turned around, it's more than 7. It's more than 7 for this guy. It's more than 70. And it's probably getting close to that 491. But every time God's saying, come back, turn around, come back. And he welcomes us back with the same amount of love and grace and forgiveness that he did the first time. This has been Outside In for Tuesday, March 22nd. No, March 21st. I hope this has been fruitful for you and your journey in Lent. We're halfway done. dig in. Let's keep going. Outside in.